Hi guys, it's Katie, and today I want to share with you my October project roundup. These are all the craft and DIY projects I completed last month, and it was October, so it was all about Halloween. Pretty much everything I worked on last month was for my little one's Halloween costume. So she was a turtle, as you can see, and she was super cute. She really likes turtles, and I think she just saw them in a storybook one time, and she's just always pointing them out. And then we went to the aquarium this summer and she got to see a bunch of sea turtles swimming around, and she just had a blast watching them swim. We watched turtle videos on YouTube quite a bit. Turtles and kitties videos on YouTube is what she likes to see. So I made her a turtle costume. I originally was going to crochet a shell with like hexagon motifs. I've seen newborn baby props of turtle costumes, so I was going to base it off something like that, but I ended up finding this tutorial to make this kind of shell. This is made out of paper mache and cardboard, and I had originally thought I might make a paper mache one just because it would be sort of lightweight for her, so it wouldn't be heavy on her back, and I was just going to do a dome and paint it. But I found this tutorial on Cardboard Prop Company's Facebook page. I think they have a YouTube channel as well, but the directions for this were on their Facebook page, and I'll link them down below if you want to see. But this is directions to make a Ninja Turtle cosplay costume for, I think it was originally for adults. Other people have made them also for children, and I made mine even smaller for my pretty small child. And I switched it up a little bit, and because mine's not a Ninja Turtle, it's an actual turtle, so it's just a little bit different than theirs. But all of the sort of basics for how to construct this I got on that tutorial, and it's an awesome tutorial, and the guy who put it up, it's very helpful if you have questions, and it was a great experience. So I want to give him a big thumbs up for that. He actually commented on my photo when I submitted it to his Facebook page. He said it looked really good, so that was nice. But yeah, it's just cardboard. I used an old Amazon box and then covered it in paper mache and painted it. Actually spent quite a bit of time painting it. I wanted to get the shading just right. I don't know if the camera's picking up all of my hard work. But it's just acrylic paints I got from the craft store. And to get in between these cracks, you're supposed to paint between the cracks a darker color to make the plates sort of stand out. But since my shell is quite a bit smaller than the original, it was hard to get down in those cracks. So what I actually used was fabric paint. They have those little bottles of fabric paint with the very thin tips so you can write words and stuff on t-shirts. It was perfect for getting down in the cracks. So I added a tail to mine since she's not a Ninja Turtle, she's just a turtle, and then I put the three main plates down the back because I think theirs just had two. I made it kind of small because I didn't want it to be overwhelming on her, and it was still cute, and she definitely looked like a turtle. But a lot of other turtle costumes for children, I was looking online, they have nice big oversized shells, so they can look like they can actually hide in their shell. So it was kind of small on her back, but I made it basically just the size of her back, so it doesn't overhang any, but it was okay. It did not seem to bother her at all while she was wearing it. We wore it two separate sort of all morning activities, and it didn't bother her, so that was nice. And then for mine, I made also a chest plate. So this is just a piece of cardboard covered in paper mache, and then I painted it. And I just googled turtle belly pictures to find out how to make these plates, so it looks just like a real turtle. And then to attach them, I actually forgot to make holes or whatever to attach it to her back, and I think the original tutorial just had sort of like straps like that, so two shoulder straps, so it would go on her back sort of like a backpack. But I made the chest plate, and this is actually a toilet paper roll that I flattened down and glued on so that I wouldn't have to cut holes in the chest plate. So for the back, I put holes and I laced it through because it's kind of 3D here. But for the chest plate, it's just a single thickness, so I glued on this toilet paper roll. And then I have the strap, so it goes over her head, sort of like a sandwich board. And then I put a clip here. I had this extra clip, so it opens up like that, so you can kind of put it around her and clip it. That way you don't have to slide it over her head. And then I had this extra tail. I wasn't sure how big to make it, and then I had it sewn down so it wouldn't flop all over the place. And I'm so glad I put this extra tail, because the first event we went to, it was nice and warm, so she just wore her long sleeve dress underneath. But we went to another event on Halloween Day, and it was much colder because we were in Pennsylvania, and she actually wore her winter coat underneath of her costume, so it was a little bit bulkier. So I had to pick those threads out, and I was able to open it up a little bit so that it would fit over her coat. But that's the shell. So to go underneath the turtle shell, I was just going to get her a ready-made green, solid green dress or pants and a top or something, but it's really hard to find just plain solid colored clothing for children. So what I ended up doing is I made this from an old long sleeve t-shirt of mine, and the t-shirt was in the Give to Goodwill box, so I'm not even missing a t-shirt out of my wardrobe or anything. So it was a really lucky that I found this perfect color. It's long sleeve already, so it's just perfect for her. And all I did was just cut it down, pretty much cut down all of the dimensions. I took the sleeves off, I cut about half of the sleeve off, I cut about 4 or 5 inches off of each shoulder seam, and then 2 or 3 inches off each side seam. I re-sewed the side seam, reset the sleeve, re-sewed the shoulder seams, and then reset the neck binding. And I sewed this after she had gone to bed one evening, and I was kind of flying blind and just guessing. So the next day I tried it on her, and it fit pretty well. It's a little bit big, a little bit baggy, but not too bad. And the shell covers it, so it's not like you really see it. But I'm glad that it was nice and like long enough, so her legs were nice and warm, and it has nice long sleeves. And the fabric's pretty heavy since it's meant to be an adult's shirt. So she was nice and warm for the first event we went to, and then like I said, the second event she wore her coat underneath. So lucky, because it's a pretty stretchy too, so we were able to kind of stretch it over her winter coat. And then along the bottom edge, the sewing machine that I use now, my mom gave me, has these pre-programmed embroidery motifs in it. So I put these turtles along the bottom hem. And I didn't have any interfacing, so I used newspaper. So newspaper saved the day again in this costume. But that's the dress, and then this part was the upper part of the sleeve that I had cut off, and it has sort of this scoop shape to it from the top of the sleeve. This is the part that would go up and over your shoulder, so it's kind of longer on one side and shorter on the other, and it's really stretchy, so it worked out perfectly. So I just kind of put it over her head, and it made sort of a wrinkly turtleneck, and then this part was sort of like a dicky, and it went down into her dress, so it looked like it was a turtleneck dress even though it wasn't. So that worked out nicely, and this was just kind of going to be discarded anyway. And then for her head, I made this hat, and it worked out perfectly. I had already known that I had this shirt to work with, and it's a really nice sort of turtley green, and I sewed this at night after she had gone to bed. And then I did not realize that the first Halloween event that we wanted to go to was as early as it was. It was a full week before Halloween, so it was like 11 o'clock at night, and I was like, oh, I haven't made her hat yet. So I couldn't go to the craft store or anything, and I just happened to have this yarn on hand. I had a full skein of it, so I had plenty to work with, and it's nearly exactly the right color. And lucky for me, it's this nice big bulky yarn, so I was able to whip up this hat in just like 45 minutes, and it worked out really well. I was going to put sort of turtle eyes on the side, but I thought maybe she could wear this for more than just Halloween, like through the fall and the winter. I made it a tiny bit too small, so I don't think she's going to get too much use out of it, but I think I'm going to make her another ear flap hat. Last year she wore some bonnets, which I really like because they kept her ears warm and they stayed on her head, but she's not having it this year. But the ear flap hats, she seems to be tolerating well enough. So that's her turtle costume. I'm really happy with the way that that turned out. And the only other thing I worked on this month is this thing. It is rocks that I glued together. But I had been making soap recently. If you've been watching my other project roundups, I've been making cold process soap, and I never really used bar soap all that often before, so I didn't have any soap dishes or anything, and I didn't want my soap to just sit in pools of water and dissolve away. So I was thinking about what I wanted to do as far as soap dishes, and I got the idea to make them out of this. So the rocks, these are just sort of craft river rocks, I guess they're called, decorative rocks. These were in a centerpiece from a wedding that was given to us. It's like a candle centerpiece that we have down on our mantle. So I just took a small handful and I made this as sort of a prototype, I guess. And I just glued them together. I used this glue here. It's really strong and it's waterproof, so it worked out pretty well. And I just glued them together. I set it on wax paper and I just glued rocks together. It's not that hard. But it works out really well because the rocks are smooth enough that the soap doesn't stick to them, and it's also, you can see the surface is, you know, bumpy and uneven, so that helps the soap not stick to it, and it helps kind of lift it up so air can get underneath, and there's also little holes in between the rocks so water can drain away. So I just made this little small one because I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to come out, how it was going to look, and how it was going to work. But I've been using this for probably about 2 or 3 weeks. Probably about 2 weeks in my kitchen, and it works out perfectly fine. It's a little bit small. I think next time I'll make it a little bit bigger, and also sometimes the soap slides off of it, so I think I'll make it bigger, and then I'll put an extra row on top around the perimeter to make sort of a lip so that the soap kind of sits down in it. But I'm really happy with these, and they're really cheap and easy to make. I haven't tried to, you know, break it to see how strong it is, but it's pretty sturdy and strong, and you know, it's just sitting flat on my countertop in my kitchen right now, so it's not like it's going to be handled too much, and the soap doesn't stick too bad to it, so I'm really happy with that. And there's a lot of different colors of these rocks if you go to like Michael's or something, so you can find different colors to match different, you know, rooms of your house or whatever. But I thought this was good, you know, cheap and easy to make, is perfect to give these with soap. So I made some Christmas soaps, which I might be giving out at Christmas time. So I thought I could make a little dish and then put the soap, wrap a ribbon around both of them, and give it as, you know, a gift. That way other people who maybe don't use bar soap all that often and don't have a soap dish will have something to sit their gifted soap on. But yeah, I think the rocks look nice, kind of has that Zen spa feel to it. The only thing is this glue, I think it says it's supposed to dry clear. I was expecting it to dry clear, but if you can see sort of where the glue is kind of thicker, it has sort of a milky appearance. So it looks fine on this sort of beige colored rocks, but they had some really nice sort of satiny matte jet black rocks. I thought that would look really cool, especially if you had like a brightly colored soap, and or like, you know, a soap for a man or something. But I think that the glue would show on any sort of dark solid colored rocks. But it still looks pretty cool the way it is. I don't know if there's another glue that would work better. I also kind of caked it on, so I don't know if that's why. Maybe if I did multiple thin layers instead of one big layer, it wouldn't have that milky appearance. But yeah, I'm really happy with that. So that's everything that I made in October. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd love to hear down in the comments below what you're working on, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!